After I did the Abyssinians, and on this website that had the bulletin board, I found out that Sly and Robbie were building a website called, and this was in 1999, so really Web.1. Um, uh, they they had announced that they were building a website, so I went there. It was like midnight before going to bed. I click on it, and there was nothing on the website except a contact us link. And I sent an email saying, "Hi, this is Guillaume Bougard, Taboo One, Abyssinians, blah blah blah, Pablo Moses. Would you be interested in reissuing some of your stuff?" And then I went to bed, and the following morning at 7 in the morning, I opened my emails and I say, "Hi, this is Sly and Robbie, Taxi Productions. We need $1 million to build a studio, and we need distribution in Europe." I just said, "Oh shit, this is great, man! Sly and Robbie, blah blah blah, my idols." And I said, "I don't have $1 million, but I do have a distribution agreement with Vagram Records in France, and they're the largest in Europe in the indie labels. Um, let's talk." And then I switch off my computer, ride my motorcycle to work or to my office, open my emails there, and I see, "Oh, let's have a meeting tomorrow." Shit, I mean, this was fast. The following day, I called the number that they had given me, and I was so excited. I mean, I was like a kid. I was so excited that I called 1 hour ahead of time, and I woke up Robbie. I was like, "Oh, oh," you know, and Robbie was not awake and didn't want to talk and was grumpy and said, "Talk to this guy." He transferred me to someone else who was his manager, and his manager was uh, the number two ranked guy at the Japanese consulate in Kingston, a guy named Kazuhiko Asonuma,
Okay.
who had been stationed in Jamaica and had discovered Jamaican culture and fell in love with reggae and so forth, and had become involved with Sly and Robbie, and he's the guy who got them, who helped them produce the Friends album, which got a Grammy in 1998.
Yeah.
So we had discussions, and 2 weeks after that, I received a FedEx package with like 5 dead tapes, and they were the tapes for Michael Rose and Sly and Robbie. The it had come out as on vinyl as under the title "The Taxi Sessions," and but very limited edition. And they said, and it was we were in October, and they said, "Release this by Christmas." Well, but I mean, yeah, sure, I was going to do it. Sly and Robbie, the biggest name in the industry, trusting me, the little guy with Michael Rose album that's never been published properly, and I was totally besides myself, and so I got this graphic artist, can't remember his name today, but that designed this. And Robbie gave me the name of the album, Ex Uhuru, rather than Taxi Sessions. He said, "Call it Ex Uhuru,
Mm.
former Uhuru."
My new album is titled Gone Arc. Arc with a H. So it's like interesting album.
Who produced this now, Phil? Sly?
Robbie.
Sly and Robbie. So how come you're working with Sly and Robbie and getting on a serious basis, or it's just a one-away shot?
No, that's a serious thing.
Well, that's probably it, because that album was a collection of singles that they had recorded in the mid '90s, and the songs originally had been mixed by Bulby York,
Right.
the sound engineer in Jamaica, and I think Island Jamaica, back then they had created a label called Island Jamaica. I think Island Jamaica was going to release it, and the tapes got remixed by Groucho's Michael.
Mm-hmm.
So the version that I released is the Groucho mixes, not the Jamaican mixes.
Okay.
The Jamaican mixes were released as the Taxi Sessions on a 12-inch LP, and my release is the English mixes. And later, when streaming and downloads came around, I put together what is called a deluxe edition, where I sell the Xuhuru and Taxi Sessions in one package, so people can compare
Uh-huh.
the mixes. And there are some tracks that were quote unquote dubbed, not really dubbed, more instrumental, and that I haven't put out. Maybe one day, they're
Maybe.
not that interesting.
Yeah,
I think
because
the
hearing just the way the recordings were, there's not really there's not really much to them. They were sort of had like a stripped down kind of sound, you know.
oh, very, yeah,
Yeah, very very simple.
yeah, it's a very powerful album, and they didn't want to do a Black Uhuru album reminiscent of Anthem or Chill Out or even Aini Kamosi, that
Yeah.
sound. Wanted to do something that had a reggae feel to it with a dancehall sound,
Mm-hmm.
reggae with a dancehall attitude, and they succeeded perfectly. I love that album. It's really one of my proudest moments to have released that, and the story behind it. It's the beginning of a wonderful story with Robbie and Sly. I mean, I miss Robbie because we became very good friends. He would stay at my place when he was off uh, in vacation in Europe, after tours and so forth, and I would stay at his place in Florida or in Jamaica, and we would listen to music, and he would really give me an education. I remember like 4 in the morning. Imagine you've been listening to music all night, and he says, "All right, let's do a game. I'm going to play you the soul original and the reggae cover, and then I'm going to show you what is what in which version." And I vividly remember how we did Gypsy Woman by Curtis Mayfield on one side, and Gypsy Woman by Slim Smith, and note by note. He wanted to teach me production and listening, you know, and this is like $1 million tuition course. It's like, wow, the best university teacher you can get. Robbie Shakespeare teaching you about music. He made me discover country and western, stuff like that. Doo wop, old music, blues, and so forth. I knew about blues because I'd been in Chicago, but the way he listened to blues was different, you know. So being close to these geniuses is a privilege that I am absolutely. I thank the Lord every day.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And what's one of the fantastic things about Sly is that the guy started playing professionally in 1966 at the age of 14. And the work ethic that he has is such that he still gets up at 6 in the morning, punches beats on his MPC from, let's say, 7 to midnight every freaking day. And I go, Sly, why bother? You're already the champion of the world, Olympic champion, whatever. He says, well, I might find something, you know. You know, he keeps looking. And what I really admire about him is that even though Robbie left us almost a year ago now, um, he hasn't given up on producing music. You know, he could have gone really into a depression mode, and his first. I mean, Robbie passed on the 8th, and I spoke to to Sly on the 8th at night, or the 9th, whatever.
Hmm.
And the first thing he said, well, we're going to continue Taxi because I don't want people to think that Taxi is done just because Robbie is gone. Robbie is still here with me in my head, and I'm going to produce music. You know, that's the best answer I can give. And I said, well, cool, man.
That's
You know,
beautiful.
respect. Yeah,
Yeah.
beautiful. And I'll send you some of the stuff he's been working on lately, and it's new. You know, it's new. It's like unlike anything else you've heard. You know, it continues to try and push the boundaries. You know, and I love that guy for that. And Robbie was the same. I mean, you know, last time I saw him in the flesh was when we went to Florida for the New Year's of 2020 to 2019 to 2020, I think, or 2020 to 2021. I don't remember. But anyway, I was in Florida, like 100 miles from where he lived. And he said, come check me, man. And so I went to see him. And he was sick already, but he could still, I mean, he was still living at home and, you know, functioning.
Yeah.
And he said, let's go to the studio. I said,
Wow.
man, I come to see you, man. We can chill. And said, no, 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 let's go work, you know. So we went to Willie Lindo's studio and we did a rhythm. So we just went to shoot the breeze with Willie Lindo, who's a great guy, by the way.
Hmm.
And we spent the afternoon, you know, recording, talking, and but you know, thinking about producing music. You know, amazing. You know, just amazing. For example, when I came to Jamaica in 2000 to do the Arabic reggae fusion, they had, you know, they were not familiar with Algerian music, but they, you know, they started, you know, thinking what they could bring to the equation, and how to make it more beautiful, or, you know, more punchy, or more this or more that, acting as producers, you know.
Yeah.
You know, they're like the Quincy Jones of Jamaica, you know, producing ideas and suggesting, and you know, and well, Quincy Jones has an even bigger career, but you see what I mean. I mean, the Daniel Lenoir, the Rick Rubins, you know, all these guys in the American music industry. Sly and Robbie is that. The Taxi label has about 2,000 tracks that have been published, I mean, released, and another 3 or 4 thousand tracks that have not been released. You know,
Hmm.
the vaults are just, you know, it's just mind-boggling. You know, they gave me that tapes filled with like 10 singers on the same rhythm or a slightly different rhythm. Especially the early '90s when the Bam Bam Murder She Wrote
Yeah.
craze came. I mean, Sly punched 50 other rhythms that's in that vein, and tried different things on it. It's touching to see how they try to go this way or that way, and with enthusiasm, with, the like an explorator, with his machete and in the jungle. He doesn't know where he goes, but he's going somewhere, and that's them. And sometimes they arrive at a an old pyramids in the middle of the jungle, and all of a sudden they, like Indiana Jones in the middle of the jungle, they, you know, and yeah, and they're just and what's crazy is that Sly turned 70 years old last May, and he continues to produce music. Yeah,
Yeah.
and he wants to tour, and he wants to do things, and it's like, you should interview him. One day we were in the studio for an American singer called Mayer Hawthorne. He's a white guy, but he does soul and funk.
Okay.
And after the session, we had done some slightly funky rhythms, and Sly grabbed the microphone and started singing. And he had no lyrics written, no lyrics sheet, just the music and him doing the lyrics. And when you check it, he's got this gift for hooks that is just incredible, and I think has been exploited by producers, because he can write songs. The little hook that makes you remember the song. Like, he did a couple of Grace Jones or Gwen Guthrie. Yeah, check out the credits on some of those Grace Jones. Put Up to the Bumper, I think. And Robbie, I think, had written one of Gwen Guthrie's songs. So anyway, they're not just drummers and bass players, and they're great human beings. I mean, I've quite a number of videos of Robbie in the studio on my YouTube channel, and I can't watch them anymore because they make me want to cry.
Yeah.
But it's beautiful. And Robbie would, he would listen to the song, to the singer, and then they would start playing the music, and he would just, listen and either record directly with, or wait for the rhythm to be recorded to do his bass. And he would take a moment of silence all the time. Every time he would record a new bass, he would take a moment of silence, like look elsewhere or close his eyes, and then tell the engineer to launch the tape or the beat, and record his bass. And I said, "What is that, Robbie? I mean, you always do that." And he said, "Well, I ask the creator to give me inspiration, and then I play what he wants me to play." I said, "Robbie," because Europeans are barely we're non-believers basically, and but he made me believe in God
Oh, that's
because
beautiful.
yeah, because the guy clearly had a higher power talking to him, and he was an instrument of that higher power, using his hands and his instrument to create something. And he told me that he used to write music and read music, and he said that it interfered with what he was receiving from Zoom, And he didn't go to church or anything, and I mean, but the guy was spiritual,
Yeah.
and he drew that from, that's the force, May the force be with you. That's from Shakespeare. I'm still a skeptical, but I see it works for other people, and I have to respect that and admire that, and praise it, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, Robbie was something else.